Here, let's start a listener. So I'll say you're using the command netcat. So let's press on enter. Then that should give us an exploit. So okay, hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Pranav Rao, and in today's video, we will be showcasing a machine from Hack the Box, which is called as Siteless. So the machine has shown us the IP address. Currently, the machine is active, and by the time if you're watching this on YouTube, the machine might have been retired as per the rules of the Hack the Box. So yeah, we got our IP address. I was waiting for the IP address to show up. Some user had requested for a reset of the machine just before I clicked on the record button. Okay, without any wasting anyone's time, let's click on the IP address, and as you can see on my screen that I've already solved this machine, which is a good thing because this hack the box machines do take up a lot of time to solve and analyze and penetrate into. So having a knowledge of what next to do is going to be a little helpful while I'm solving and showcasing this on a channel where we need to be quick and not to waste anyone's time. So I have copied the IP address, and so let's use tool called as Obsidian where I make all my notes. So power that up. Here it is going to be showcasing, I guess, the same machine which I've already solved, but let's start a new vault in which let's create one for my YouTube. So let's call it as YouTube Siteless and then browse a location for it. Let's save it in my directory and then hack the box. New folder called as YouTube. Let's click on this one called as YouTube and then save it here. Let's create another folder called as Siteless. Site SIGHT less and then press enter. Then click on next. We are in that folder, so that's going to create our vault in that folder. So let's click on create. Just do a small changes in the editor for the appearance to be a little dark, so that it does not harm anyone's eyes if you're watching in a dark environment, and also give it a little bit of readable length. Remove that option because then that's going to be a little too fuzzy for us to read or make notes. Okay, so my editor is ready here. So let's give the file name called as siteless. Uh, yeah, that's right. Now let's paste in the IP address that we just copied. So let's put in the IP address inside a pointer. Then same the IP address what I copied is this. Okay, now, as usual, the first method is to always go for a scan or a nmap scan. Let's open up or let's go to the folder that I just created. Let's go there. Hack the box, one for the YouTube and siteless. What do I see here? So I see YouTube siteless there. Here we can make a nmap directory. So mkdir and then say let me just spell that right, mkdir, and then make a directory called as nmap where I'll be saving all the reports and the outputs what I get from nmap. So let's clear the terminal, and for running the nmap what we'll do is run the command sudo then nmap. Then I will specify the switches which I want for using it there. So I'll first specify for a normal script scan, which is going to be scanning using default scripts which is present. Then SV, which is going to be looking for the versions of the services which the ports are enabling. And then I'll paste in the IP address. Before that, I'll also specify I want the verbose output to be given, and along with a fast scan because I don't want it to be scanning and checking for other stuffs in it. So for that reason, T5 will do my job. Then I'll specify the output file that I want. I want in the all format. Then I will specify the folder which is there nmap, and then siteless.nmap is going to be my file's name. So if by pressing enter, that should start an nmap scan. And straight off, we see three ports to be open, which is port 21, port 22, and port 80. So let's add that into our notes. Let's say nmap result is going to be the following ports which we got. So which is port 22, port 21 and port 80. Now the thing with port 21 is about FTP, so file transfer protocol. For that we need require some authentication mechanism, for which the username or anonymous login or something related to that. Whereas port 22 is going to be related to SSH. Since we don't have the username and password, we are just left with the port 18, which is going to be a web application that we'll be dealing with. So let the output come up or show up. So till then, let's open another terminal down here and then edit our etc host file, because we want to be accessing the web page now. So I'll enter the command sudo nano etc host. Here you can already see it from the same challenge which I solved it using this machine. So for that, that domain is present. Let's replace the IP address from the box here. Let's copy the IP address and then paste it in here. And then again, I'll be specifying the same domain, which is going to be siteless.htb. And then press on Control X, Y, and Z, which is, sorry, Enter, which is going to then save our etc host file. So we'll be able to get a domain to that IP address. Here we also got our nmap scan. The output is here. What we'll do is let's just copy the command as well as copy the output. Now I have already done the notes, as you can see from here, and the same content is also present in my website, but just for this showcasing in this video, I thought let's do this also. So then I'll paste in the output. Let's specify it here. Before here, let's say output, and then it's going to be here. Let's copy and paste in the findings that we got. So port 80, port 20 is being captured. Let's just copy till here. This will be an optimal result that we will get. More than that, we don't need anything else. So port 22, port 21, and port 80 are open, and we are targeting port 80 right now. So I have edited the etc host file to siteless.htb. Let's open new tab and then type in the command http. Let's open new tab and then say http siteless.htb, and that should open the same site here. So we see a web application page shown up on our screen. Let it load a little bit. There might be some traffic onto this site. It's a very cool looking web application with all these backgrounds and all those things. It has a lot of information in it. It is looking good, but there is nothing something which you would interact with or you can play with. For example, if I click on any of the links like home, about, and even the services or contact us, it's all related to the same web page. So obviously, when I get that, I just go to the source code of the page. First thing that I see is the comments, and in the comments we just see the service section starts here, and contact us and the footer and all those things. So nothing like a username or a password or any of such hints given to us in the page. For that, what I will do now is to, after I do that, it's all about looking for the URLs or the contents that is present in the source code. Now all these HTTPS links are something which might give us some potential links or some potential outsourcing of the application, all those information. For that, I use a command called as mesh. So I'll see if I have it in my tools folder here. So cat and then tools, yeah, tools, and I have commands here. So here we see get the URLs present in the website. So mesh dump. So this is the format what I'll be using, the same command, which is going to give us a list of URLs that is present in the web application just by specifying the URL of it. So the mesh dump or the command is here on my screen. You can just copy paste it if you wanted to check. So let's copy the URL from the browser and then paste in, remove this contact me stuff, and just paste in the URL what is required for it to be going and scanning the backend of it and give us the links. So we see we got some links from all the URLs that is present in the source code of this application. Here what we see is we see a normal siteless.htb and the styles pages. We see some fonts being imported from Google. then the Cloudflare links and all those things for the CSS and the stylings of the page. Then the main thing, or the main curious page that we see is the SQL pad siteless.htb. So let's copy this URL. Let's copy that and try to browse in here. Okay, we don't find it because we need to edit our etc host file. Let's do that once again here. And then we'll add the same URL. Just here, remove all the other parameters like the HTTP and all those things. Edit to the etc host file, press Ctrl X, Y, and enter, which is going to then save it. Yeah, now if I come back to this page and reload it, we see an SQL pad page being shown to us, which is something which should have been very secure and something which should not be visible to the users, because here is something is the place where I can run in any of the SQL commands, which could then lead me to into doing some other kind of privilege escalation or exploitation of the machine and all those things. But the thing is, we don't have such information, like what databases are running, what are the backends of it, which operating systems functions or command line entries can be run here. I don't know any of these things or any of the recon data that I can be using for running an SQL query. So obvious thing that I wanted to do now is to find out what version this is running, to just see if there is any vulnerability present related to this application or something like that. But in the source code, it was nothing but a plain window or plain screen of the SQL pad application. So obvious thing is to Google something. So Googling SQL pad vulnerabilities. So let's put it in one word and then say vulnerabilities. So by searching this, we see some proof of concepts from GitHub and some CVEs being presented, right? That's one thing which then shows that yes, we can have a possible exploit on this machine here. So let that NIST page load up, which is going to be talking about the vulnerability. Yeah, it's going to be talking about how the vulnerability can be exploited, how the vulnerability works, and all those information is right here. But if this vulnerability is present, then that means we can exploit this machine, right? That's what we want to be doing. By looking at this particular GitHub page, we can see that we need to be specifying the admin, which is the username or the password of the application, which we don't know. Again, they've told that it's an optional parameter that we need to be passing for this command or this tool. But then looking for any other popular tools by using search commands like Insight, which is going to just showcase in GitHub. So github.com. Here we see another GitHub repository which contains an exploit to this vulnerability. It's from, I don't know the name. I might be spoiling your name if I just try to pronounce it, but credit goes to the user who has made this repository. So here we can see the explanation of the vulnerability and the way how we are supposed to be running the exploit, which is nothing but to run a command called as python exploit.py, then pass in the parameters which is required, which is going to be exploiting the machine, which looks pretty simple. And but they've also told that this version is only affected for up till the 6.10.0. Okay, so this even 10.0.1 is not included, so excluding the 6.10.1 version. Now I'm unaware of the version currently which is being run in this application. For some reason I did not even go for trying it. I just thought this application is there and then went on with looking for any exploits for this machine. So we found one, so let's use the same exploit which I used earlier. So let's copy the GitHub's link, then open up the terminal here. We already in the terminal where we want to be saving our contents. So let's make a directory called as exploit. So then I can save all the exploits there. So cd exploit. Let's clear our window because we don't need any of those information now. Now let's clone the repository. So git clone and then paste in the URL of that GitHub repository. Then press enter, which is going to be cloning the entire repository. So now what we'll do is let's go into the directory called as what is present SQL pad RCE exploit, then the CV number. So here we see two files. One is the readme.md file and the exploit.py file. The exploit.py file is what we'll be using now. So for that, let's run the command python 3 exploit.py, then help switch, which is going to give us the way how we are supposed to be entering the information and the way how we are supposed to be interacting with the tool. Now, for this to be running, this to work successfully, we need to have a listener port enabled in our system. So I anyway have a two terminals in the same window. So let's take an advantage of that. Here, let's start a listener. So I'll say you're using the command netcat nc-lvnp, which is to listen on a verbose mode, node of resolving for any of the DNS and on port 12345, or I can even say something like 444, which is a typical one which we always use. So it's our attacker box is listening for any of the incoming requests from the port number 444. Then the command for the exploit is right here. Let's just copy that from the GitHub and then paste it in here. Then do some changes with the URL. For the URL, let's copy it from our page here. Copy this URL and then paste it in here. Let's remove all these new query and all those information. Just the URL is enough. Then the attacker IP where the machine will try to come and connect to us. Since we're in the same network using the OpenVPN file, I just need to specify my attack box IP address or my Kali Linux IP address, which is 10.10.14.84. And then the attacker port is the port where I'm listening for any incoming request, which is 444 from the netcat session here. So let's press on enter. Then that should give us an exploit. So you can see here that it ran the exploit. It gave in the all the inputs and all those things, and we got a reverse shell from the machine to our system. And if you look at this reverse shell that we got, we immediately see that we got a root access. So if I type in the command who am I, or you can even see from the here window, we can see that I am the root, which is not something which is common, not something that is usually done in our system, because if I get the root access, that means the machine is over. But whereas as per to the challenge, we need to get the user flag and the root flag. So anyway, we're just trying to go through all the locations and the files and information related to what is present in the machine. I always go to the home directory first to see who are all the users that is present in the machine. We see two users. One is the node and one is the Michelle. Michelle is the another user who is present. So since I'm the root, I can go into anyone's directory. So let's say Michelle, and then I'm inside that directory. Listing out the contents, there is nothing. So listing out everything that is present in the directory using the command ls-la. I see the bash history, which is sent to the null, which means we don't get the ability to see the history of the files or the commands which was entered. And then bash logout, bash rc, and the profile information is present there. So nothing useful here. So going back to the directory back, and then going to the directory called as node, which is here. The same case happens here where we don't get any information or something which we can exploit. Again, if it was actual machine, then we would have got the flag here. Now, if for some reason we are supposed to go to the root directory, let's go there. Then same thing here to list out every content which is present inside the machine. We don't see anything useful or something that we can further continue with the machine. Now going to the root directory of the machine, which is cd slash, then listing out the contents here, we see something like docker entry point, or a better way if I do ls -la to showcase everything, I see docker run environment. So which means that the current machine that we have got a reverse shell into is being run in a docker container, which means that the content whatever is present in the machine is nothing but is related to the docker container which is running the services of this. We have not exploited the machine or the user, which is the main framework of the entire lab that we are trying to solve. So now since I'm the root, I have some privileges. So what we'll do is let's look for some of the contents or go through some of the sensitive files which is typically not to be showcased or should be accessible, something like the etc shadow file, which contains all the hexed values of the users who are present in the machines and their passwords and all those information. Also, we can see the etc password file. So etc passwd, which contains the users and their home directories and all such information related to it. So now that we see a user called as Michelle, it's not something which a Docker container would normally have, because a Docker can run independently and solo with the user root alone in the machine. We don't have to have something like a Michelle or some other username given to the Docker to be running. I mean, obviously you can give, but then not something that we would usually given, which triggered us to a point that there could be some real user in the machine which could be having the same username and potentially might have the same password, what is in the format of hexadecimal or this hashed value which is there on our screen here. So that could be the possible password of this user. Now, to crack such usernames and password, we can use the command unshadow, which is going to generate a hash file for cracking it using John the Ripper. So what we'll do is we'll copy some of the contents which is present inside the etc password and the shadow file of this machine into our local computer where we have the tools installed and all those things. So let's come back one folder, then create another folder called as files. This is going to be our exploit files. So let's go to cd files and I'll create a new file called as nano. Before that, let's copy all the contents of the etc password file. So I just copied that from the terminal here, and then here I'm going to say nano passwd. You can give whatever file name you want to. So then I will paste that there, plus Control X, Y, and Z to save that contents there. Then what I will do is I will also copy the contents of the shadow file, right? So let's copy it from the root and then select it here. So copy that, and then now here I will create another file called as a shadow, and then paste in the contents whatever I copied, save it, and then close the editor. So now that I've copied the contents of the etc files and etc password files and the shadow files, now what I'll be performing is to create a hash of this. So actually I can even copy the hash which is from the shadow file and then try to crack it. But then having access to both of such files is like a easier way for creating hashes to which then can be used for cracking using wordless like rocky.txt or something with the John the Ripper tool. So there's a tool or the command called as unshadow. Unshadow, which is going to be combining the password file and the shadow file of our machine, and to then generate a file which is going to be used for generating a hash. Okay, so it's going to be a tool called as unshadow password unshadow. Then let's save the contents into something called as crack. That's just the file name that I'm entering. So now if I print out the contents of the crack, it's going to be containing the username and the password associated with that user in the file called as crack, using which we can now pass it through John the Ripper to crack these hashes. Now, since I've already cracked the passwords related to the machine, I'll not be able to crack it once again. So, but I can show you the output and the passwords what I got by running the John the Ripper command. Okay, so I cleared my window. So what we'll do now is to run the command crack, which is going to be specifying the word list which I want, or the hash which I want to be cracking into. Then I'll specify the word list equals to then my the name or the folder's name which I have stored my word list, which is going to be home Pranav Rao and my name, and then it's going to be tools, then the fuzzing list, then rocky.txt. So by pressing enter, you will get this output. In my case, I've got the different output, but in your case, it's going to be cracking for the passwords of this user using the combination of the hash and the word list which you have in your system. So here I have already cracked the passwords from my system. So which all that I have to do is to specify it to just show the password for this hash, which is the show option, which is then going to show the contents related to it. So the root user has the password blind side, and the Michelle user has the password called as insane clown pose. So which is nothing but the credentials of such users, which is Michelle and root. So let's copy the credentials of Michelle. Let's open up a notepad and then paste it in here. This is the username, or let's put in our Obsidian itself where we are documenting all the things. So put in saying cred. Here we got a username, which is the Michelle, and then the password of this user is also present here, which is insane clown pose. So let's copy that and then paste it here. Let that be in the normal format because I can use it for copying and pasting it into the terminal. Now that I got the username and the password of the user Michelle, which probably I think is going to be enabled for SSH, let's try to log in into the system using these credentials. So SSH, then I'll specify the username. So MECHAEL at the IP address, or I can even give the domain name, which is going to be siteless.htb. That's going to be asking for checking the fingerprints and all those things. Once that's entered, then paste in the password that you copied, and we are logged in. That's good. So we are logged into the machine now. Let's clear the window here and look at the contents that we have. We have the user.txt file. So I'll not be printing out the contents of it, or should I? I mean, that does not matter. But anyway, I'll just give you the word count to showcase that that is the exact content, or that is the flag that which you need to be submitting for the machine. Okay, so getting till here was a easy task for me also to solve, but then to now get for the root access is something which it was a little tricky and a little bit of confusing, which took me a lot of time to figure out how do I solve this. Okay, so now the normal going through of the machine here, what I did was to go for a directory back from the home directory of the Michelle user. So just a directory back, so cd and press enter, and then we see a content called as John. So the user John, not the content, sorry. So cd John, we are not allowed to go into that user, or looking at even the root directory of the system, we don't see anything which is pretty much useful or something that we can exploit or something like that. So the one more thing what I thought after figuring out and going through, and then spending a lot of time going through all the folders and files which is present in the system, like the war file, where I went into the mail or backups or any of such information which is there of the which is related to the system, could not find anything. But by the time I was searching for all those things and all, we had, because there are the users also interacting with the same IP address, um, I found a file called as the line apps, which we use for Linux privilege escalation in basically in any of the penetration testing or something like that. So let's open up a Firefox browser. I'll just showcase that tool itself. So which is called as linepiece.sh. Okay, so let's press enter. No, just press the search for that, and here we get some GitHub repositories which is containing that tool. So let's just make it small so that we can read it. So it's basically a Linux privilege escalation awesome script. It's a script for analyzing and going through every content which is there in the system, which can potentially give us an access into escalating our privileges in a Linux machine. So it's a tool used for that. We'll get a link to also download this from this GitHub repositories if we have it. Let's do it. No, let's just replicate these steps. Let's download this. Let's copy this from the public GitHub. So I hope we are able to ping google.com. Just do it for 3 times. just to see if there's internet access. No, there's no internet access. So again, as I told, I did not install into the system. It was already present when I came for the second or third time into the home directory of the user. So let's do this. Let's copy this into our system. Let's just download it. Copy that. First, I will download it to my local system right here. They've also given the steps for that. Let's just copy it. Let's open another window, side by side view. Okay, here let's zoom in and then let's run the command curl, which is going to download the linapps.sh file. That did not do it. Let's use wget for doing it. So wget and then paste in this command. Remove all the curl and all those information. Then paste it here. So that has downloaded it. So we have the file in our local system. So if I press on cat, it's going to show all the contents related to it, which we don't need it. But now what I will do is I will host a simple Python web server on my local system, which is using the command sudo python 3-m http.server port 80. And then it's going to be opening a web application there. Now here what I'll do is I'll download the same command. So wget http and then specify my IP address 10.10.14. Come on, did that type? Yes, 14.84. And then I'll specify the tool which I just copied. Let's copy the name of the tool and then paste it in here. That just erase some of the other things. Let's remove this properly and then let's save it here. So that's going to connect and download it from my machine to the system here. As you can see, it's already present there. It's not recommended to keep any of our exploit machines or exploit files in the home directory of the user. So let's move it to the temp directory. Let's move it there and then let's go to the temp directory of the system. So here we can see our tool to be present, linepiece.sh. Okay, that tool is going to showcase or show up some potentials way how we can try to do some privilege escalations and all those things. My initial thought and my initial process was to become the user John who is present inside the home directory, as you can see here. So I wanted to become John. So I just ran this command. Let's just run the command by using bash, or is it having the right permissions? I don't think so. So chmod plus x linepiece.sh, which is going to make it an executable file, which you can see right now. Now let's run the command bash linepiece.sh. Yeah, so this start to run on the system. It's going to go through all the possible information that it can give us regarding what are the vulnerabilities, what are the locations that we can find some information regarding the operating system, and all those information is going to be presented to us. That is doing its searches. So let's wait for the output to show up completely. Okay, so before that we can see some informations being shown here, the executable things that we can do, and some information related to the containers and all those information. Let's wait for the report to come out. So now, as you might see in my screen here, again, it's not completely finished yet, but can you see some information related to the John here on the screen, which is regarding remote debugging port, something like that. So which is nothing but the extension or the ability which is present by the Google Chrome application. So what I mean by that is that if you're running a Google Chrome in a system, you can have something like debugging steps and all to be enabled in your system. This was not something which I immediately found out, but then after digging, because there are so much of information here which we can actually try to possibly do some privilege escalation. But we see that from the user John, there was a Google Chrome application which was run in the backend, and this has highlighted an option called as remote debugging port. Okay, it's actually a bad thing, because then we can now intercept and look at all the information that is going back and forth between the browser and the system of the user, whoever is running this. So to exploit this vulnerability, we get another repository or some information. As you can see from my Firefox browser here, I have opened up different folders and all those things. It's not for opened up, it's basically I have imported it from my Firefox account, which holds up all the repositories and information things which I use in my penetration testing and red teaming activities. So here, this one application called as exploit.notes, where they have a good information regarding how we can exploit some vulnerabilities and all those things. Now, this came up after I did some searches and Google browsing and all those things. But what I found a blog from here is one related to Google Chrome, which is something exactly related to this. So Google remote debugging pen testing. So they've given us a description about it, which says that if the Google debugger option is enabled, as we can see it here, it's going to let us to intercept and capture the information whatever is being transferred back and forth between the system and the browser. It basically acts as a middleman to be running there. So for this information, they say that for first thing is we need to see what port number is enabled and what ports are running in the system. Now, to do that, it's not given here. Now, to do that, it's not given here which port, because they have specified as port 0, which is to say that it can be any random port or anything as per the system likes whenever it is turned on. And going through down, you can even see some of the ports to be open. That also shows the such information. So we see active ports to be open here. Surprisingly, when I just went through this, I saw port 8080 to be open, which then I was like, that did not come up in my Nmap result. So it's something which is only accessible internally. For that, what I did was to just do a normal search with the IP address or the domain name, then specifying with the port 80. So let's do that. .htb, and then port 8080. That shows nothing. I also tried with just the IP address, just by copying the IP address from the browser and then pasting it here, then specifying with port 8080 to see if it is available or not. But then it says unable to connect and all those things, because it's obvious thing that it's only internally accessible by the machine. Now, if I ever get such situation where it's only internally accessible, what we can do is, using SSH, we can try to connect to the machine or port forward our information back to the system, like port forward our traffic into the system and then be able to access the information related to it. For that, what we can do is, again, I know that I went into a different tangent while explaining what we are doing with the Chrome and all those things, but then I'm telling you the flow, how I came up and thought of this exploitation and all those things. So with that Google Chrome, I came to this page, but then I saw the open ports, because if there's an open port, then we can see for any web application there. So in the open port, we saw port 8080. Now it's not accessible by my browser. So what I can do is use the command SSH. So SSH, then the same thing, which is to specify the user, which is Michelle, Mechael, then the IP address, or you can even specify the domain. That's why we give in the domain. So siteless.htb, and then I specify with the option called as -l, which is going to be sending all my traffics into this domain or this IP address on this port number. So I want any traffic from my local system on port 8080 to go through the local address of the machine with the port number 8080 here also. So I do that, and then I press enter, then copy paste the password of this user, which is what is it? Insane clown post, and then press enter. So now what happens is all my traffic is going to be forwarded through the user. Then if I come here and then try to load in any of the information, it's should be accessible. So I say site less.htb, it's less.htb, and then give in the port number, port 8080. Okay, that went for a Google search. Let's not do that. Let's http and then say site less dot htb, and then the port number. So trying to access this, it says unable to connect, and we don't know why that has happening. So even the IP address is not going to let us connect to it. So you can see from here, it's not enabling us to connect. So I thought if that is the reason, then there could be some other information behind it. So I just wanted to look at the etc host file of it. So printing out the file of it. So cat etc host. What I can see here is that it says siteless HTTP, and then SQL pad is also mentioned there, and then it says admin.siteless.htb. So that was a domain which was there. So what I did is I just copied that and then pasted it here, then specified port 8080 along with the URL address. Still, it was not allowing, because then again I have to edit my etc host file according to whatever is here, because that is what is running. So this local address is pointed to this domain. So anything with coming to that domain is going to be accessible. So what I will do is I'll open up another terminal, fresh terminal here, and then modify my etc host file. So sudo nano etc host. Here what we'll do is let's also specify that anything which is for the local host, so 127.0.0.1 is going to be related to the same domain which is here. Let's copy that and then paste it here, and then remove this content from there. Yeah, so that should do it. That should give us some access to the web page. Yes, so that loaded the page in. That's what. Because we are passing our local host traffic with port 88, that's why we need to be having that. Okay, now what we'll do is we need to get the username and password for this application here, which again I don't see it here. I don't know, do I see it in the source code or any of those things. Like, of course I can try with Hydra to brute force for some usernames and passwords, but then that would take a lot of time, and I don't think so that's the method that we're supposed to be going through. Now, you remember the point which I said regarding the debug option to be enabled in this machine. So let's go through that page, and you can see it here. It says remote debugging port equal to 0. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this point up is because from the exploit here, what we can see in this blog post, it says that we can look for any of the information which is being passed from one directory to, sorry, not one directory, from web browser to the server by using this debugging option which is enabled. I can even look at what content is being passed through from that browser itself. The browser's information is going to be shown to us. So we can do that in this exploit here. Now, how did I figure that out? It was a huge task where I just was browsing, going through all the places and all those things. So yeah, for that we'll be following this application. Now, I don't know the port name of or the port number which is enabled. For that reason itself, I had this window open where I could see all the ports which are enabled in the system. Now we'll be using this help. Now, since we don't know any of the port which is enabled and which we can use, we need to be trying out with all the possible ports which are enabled to us. So let's click on exit. I don't need this window anymore. What I need to now do is to run the similar command, but this time I need to be specifying all these ports number to just test with. You can just follow whatever I'm just doing, you will get an idea. So let's copy that port number, come here and then paste it here. Then again paste the port number there. Then open the notes that we have made and then copy the password. Then press enter. That asks us for the password. Let's paste that in here. That locks it in. So that means all our traffic is being forwarded there. Now, for this exploit to run, you need to have something like a Chromium browser, a Brave, something like that would work. In my case, I have Chrome browser in my Kali Linux, which is useful for me for exploiting it. So let's go back to this window here and then copy the location that I need to be modifying to accept all the traffics or the inspect all such traffics. So we come back here, Google Home Mini, which is supposed to be out of the scope because that's anyway my internal systems which are there. Okay, so Here, what we need to do is we need to specify the address that we want to capture. So 127.0.0.1, and then the port number that we copied from the browser. So, sorry, the terminal. So let's copy this port number and then paste it in here and then click on done. So that's going to wait. And oh, wow, luck was with us. So if not, we had to try with all these ports, and one of these ports would have shown us. In this case, I just entered the port number and that showed up the domain here with the admin site less.htb on port 8080. I will just showcase if what if we enter the wrong port number. Let's copy this port number just to showcase this example. So let's click on the configure button, edit it with the port number which I just copied, and then paste it here. We don't see any information there. Again, we need to log out and put that port number as the bridge and then do it. But then, yeah, this is how it would look like if you have entered the wrong port number. You don't have to worry about it. Just come back here, copy this port number, establish a connection here, and then paste it back into the browser here. That will just check for if there's any possible inspections, and all those things can be done. So luckily we have that, we got the right port number in the first attempt itself. Now click on the option inspect. So that will start to inspect all the informations of this browser. So all that I have to do is click on the window here, and then under the networking option, under index.php, you can see on the preview, or not the preview, once it logs in. Let's wait for the user to log in. Here we see under the payload option, the username credentials there. It's going to be too quick for you to actually go through and all those things. Let's just wait and immediately copy that one. I took a screenshot of it and then I just did it. So I just copied it. Oh no, I did not copy it. I pressed a different window, or the key actually. Yeah, let's wait for it to log in. And then now copy this password. So I just copied it, come back to my notes, and then paste it in here. So the password for the web application is given here. So username is admin, which was again seen in that window, and this is the password. So we got the password for logging into this application. Now with that, let's try to log in here, which you'll say admin, and then specify the password back again. Let's copy this and then paste it here, and then click on login. Unable to connect. Oh yeah, we have removed the session, right? So let's exit the port forwarded bridge here. Exit, come on. And then let's establish another connection on port 8080 for the service to be accessible in our local machine. So let's replace that with port 8080 and press enter. Now what we'll do is paste in the password. We need to copy this password and paste it there. Then what we'll do is let's copy this password and try to access the page once again. So the username is admin and then the password is admin. So we log in. This is an application that we can log in and then interact with Fox Lore. It's an application used for managing all the PHP information and resources of the systems and all those things. But the thing that we are mostly interested is the PHP page of it. So here we can see PHP FPM versions. So PHP FPM is nothing but a service which is going to be enabling you to be interacting with the system and to do some configurations related to the PHP versions, do all those things. But the main thing that we are focused on here is that it has the ability to run system level commands in it. Okay, if I click on the edit option here and then come here, so the PFP restart command is nothing but the system commands that we can enter. That's what the service is going to be doing. If it is going to be restarting it, it's going to run this command. Now what I will do is I will replace this command with something related to our challenge here. So I can do CP and then say root. This will have root level access to it. So I can say CP root and then specify for the SSH ID underscore RSA file. I can do that, or you can even copy the directly the contents of the flag, whatever is here. But what we'll do is let's run the command to copy the ID RSA file. Then I will put it into the temp directory, and then I'll say IDRSA. So that's going to be copying the contents of the roots IDRSA file and then saving it in the temp directory. So let's click on save. Now what I'll do is I'll go to the systems option, then to the settings, then PHP FPM. Then I will turn off this service and then click on save, which is going to deactivate the service because I want to be restarting it, because that command is going to be only executed when I'm restarting or starting a new session of the PHP FPM. So I will click on that, then click on enable, which then I'll click on save, which will restart the service. And if we are lucky enough, that content should be in our temp directory here. So cd, let's browse to the temp directory. And looking at the information here, let's give it a moment to load all the things. That shall give us the file. Hope I've written the commands correct. Even if I do some error there, it's going to not give the information. So temp directory is right, copying is right, all those things is right. Okay, now let's look at it here once again. We don't see it here. So we see copy root.ssh and then IDRSA file to the temporary directory and named as IDRSA itself. So why didn't that just copy it here? Oh, that's a question for another day, I guess, because I don't see it here. Okay, let's run this command once again. Let's try to refresh it. Let's click on save. That is saved. Go to the system options settings, and yeah. So turn the service off. Click on save with the crossed finger. Click here to continue. Let's give it a moment. Let's refresh the page. Let the machine get to know that the services are disabled and all those things. Let's do ls to see if there's any file which has come up. We don't see it here. Okay, I guess by this time the service would have been properly shut down. Now click on enabling that option, then click on save. Then click here to continue. Again with crossed fingers, this time with ls, and then press enter. Okay, once again ls. Oh no, that's not giving us the required output for some reason. Yeah, why is that? I don't know why is that happening. So let's try changing the command itself, right? That will be a better thing. Let's change it here, and let's say copy it, copy the contents of the root. Maybe that IDRSA file is not there, so let's copy root.txt file to the temp directory. Name that as root.txt itself. This is the same command which I ran. That's why I know that this will work. IDRSA, maybe that is not present in the system, I don't know. So now let's turn off the service and then press save. Click here to continue. Do I see at least now any of the information like the IDRSA file? Oh, I got the root.txt. Oh, that's strange. It should have not come up so fast. Let's run this, save. Click here to continue. So that has restarted it. So again, I see the root.txt file. It could even be from other users who are running in the backend, or it could even be because of the script. I don't know. So with the permissions that we have, lsla, we see that the root file is only readable and writable by the root user and not by any of the other users. So let's change this permission. For that, again, just come back to the PHP file here, to the versions here, and then click on edit option. All that I have to do now is to say chmod 777 37s and then say for the temp root.txt file, click on save. So go to the systems option, settings, PHP FPM. Let's turn off the service, click on save. That's done. So click here to continue. Now restart the service once again. Let's see if that permission is disabled for the root.txt file. Yeah, it's still not readable. So let's now save it. Click on save. That's done. That's running. Now if I see, I should uh, get the access to be able to read it. Oh, okay. That's nice. So we got the permissions back here. So what I did is nothing, just to wait for it a little bit and then try to turn it on and off a few more times. And then here I can see the permissions have been given to the root.txt file. That's great. So what I will do is I'll just show you the word count of it, not showcase the flag of it. So the word count of root.txt, it shows us that it contains the flag. So now you can just copy and paste it to the machine and then submit the flag. So with this, we have compromised the user. We could even run for the ID RSA file and then try to get access to this machine itself. We can do that also, but then I chose for this method, which is same, which is nothing but if you can do this, even you can do that. That's an option, which is just the way how I want to take it up. Okay, fine. With that, we have finished this machine. Hope you did enjoyed it. Hope you did enjoy learning new stuffs and me figuring out and showcasing how I did this and how I solved this particular machine. Yeah, with that, hack YouTube's algorithm. I mean, that's the only ethical way how you can hack YouTube, which is to like, comment, and share, subscribe to this channel if you're new to this. So that's it. Uh, with that, I would just like to end the video. Thank you. Thank you for watching.